These psychotic freaks believed that their 13-month-old baby was possessed by a demon named Martha, so they attempted to do an exorcism, which tragically resulted in the beautiful baby's death. On this episode of What the Fuck America, we are talking about the absolute horrific, terrible, scary as hell case of Amora Bain Carson. So we're going to start with Blaine Keith Millam. He was born on December 12th, 1989. He comes from very humble beginnings. He grew up in a trailer park in Gregg County, Texas. I don't even know where that's at, but apparently it's a very rural part of Texas. And Blaine had his mother, Shirley, his father, Daniel, and 3 siblings. One will get brought up later in this story. Her name is Teresa. So Blaine went to regular school up until 4th grade, where he was pulled out and quote unquote homeschooled. Apparently that homeschooling only lasted a few weeks and then he never returned to school again. So he only has a 4th grade education. So instead of being homeschooled, he was actually the full-time caretaker for his father, Daniel, who was extremely ill after having a stroke. So by all accounts, Blaine always had a short temper. He was quick to violence. He was also very religious. Pretty much his entire life, he grew up in the Pentecostal church, and religion will play a part in this story. But in his teenage years, he became fascinated with demonology and the occult. He also began using methamphetamine, which he has an on-again, off-again addiction to this, pretty much stemming from like 13 or 14 years old. So that's one hell of a fucking combo. Religious psychosis, demonology, and meth. That sounds like someone who is about to have a psychotic fucking break. He was also always a fucking weirdo. So his first run-in with the law was in 2007 when he was 17. He actually went into the home of an 11-year-old girl that he had been stalking. He had been watching her house. He knew that she had been homeschooled. He knew when she would be home, when she wouldn't be home. And he went into her house and put clippings from porno magazines all over her room with notes on where to meet him, describing what he wanted to do, saying that they could do these things depicted in the magazine. Just disgusting shit. So he actually was charged with solicitation of a minor and was sentenced to 180 days in prison and was put on the sex offender registry. During his prison stay, he was allowed to do like a work release kind of thing. I don't know if this was handled in the juvenile court or not. I think it probably kind of was, because only after 48 days in prison, he leaves for work one day and never goes back to the prison. And they really just never really fucking did anything about it. They never upheld his sentence. He was actually arrested again in January of 2008 for domestic violence because of a fight with his brother. And they still didn't go make him do the rest of that 180 days, which could have prevented this entire fucking tragedy, because he would not have met Jessica. But it appears they let him out on the domestic violence charge as well. It's unclear if he did any time for that. I'm going to guess no, because that same month in January of 2008, he met 18-year-old Jessica Carson. Okay, so there's like fucking no information about this fucking weird bitch on there. There's not even her birthday online. The Texas Department of Corrections doesn't actually put their birth date like the Ohio one does. It just puts how old they currently are. So it says she's currently 35. She was 18 when this happened. So by my calculations, she was born somewhere around 1990 in Texas. Jessica did have some tragedy in her life. Her father died by suicide in 2001, and she was the one to find his body, which obviously would have been a deeply traumatic event for her. And it was. It comes up later again in this case. But her former friends report that she was always a super loving, outgoing, funny, and very kind girl prior to meeting Blaine. When Jessica was 17, she got pregnant by a man named Christopher, who pretty much the moment he found out that she was pregnant, went and joined the army, left, was not an active father, and basically had no contact with Jessica or the baby to come. On November 12th, 2007, Jessica gave birth to a baby girl that she named Amora Bain Carson. All her close family and friends say that when she first had Amora, she was a very active and loving mother, and they could have never seen any signs of danger or what was to come. So in January of 2008, Blaine and Jessica meet, and they move quickly. Blaine's excited because he basically has a family. Amora's only a few months old. Jessica is basically a housewife, and they move in together. They move into a trailer in Russ County, Texas. Very quickly, Blaine actually proposed to Jessica, and they were planning a spring 2009 wedding. Which, mind you, many of Jessica's friends report that she was a loving mother, but she can't be that loving of a mother because she moves her and her infant daughter into a sex offender's house. Yes, remember, Blaine is a registered sex offender. Disgusting. On September 10th, 2008, only a few months after they start dating, Blaine's father, Daniel, dies. And this is where things get really weird and really fucking scary. So Blaine was obviously deeply affected by this. Obviously, he was his father's caretaker for a long period of time. They were extremely close. And at this point of his father's death, Blaine had been sober from meth for a year or so. But right after his father died, he got right back into it and began using. It's unclear whether Jessica started using or not, but all signs are pointing to fucking yes, because her family and friends began reporting that around September of 2008, it seemed that she no longer cared about her appearance. She was disheveled. She was once like a nice and kind girl. She was fucking rude now. She was becoming very distant from her family and friends, which was unlike her. So they just felt like something was going on. And I'm going to say all signs point to fucking meth. They also report that not only was Jessica not taking care of herself, but she was no longer taking care of baby Amora and was allowing Blaine, the registered sex offender, to do it. And he was the one in charge of changing Amora and feeding her because Jessica, I don't know, just couldn't fucking do it. We don't know. They're both fucking psychotic freaks. So Blaine, very depressed over his dad, wanted to talk to him. And Jessica was like, you know what? I also want to talk to my dad who has passed away. So they decide to get a Ouija board. They both wanted to communicate with their fathers, so they began using it. And they actually believed that they got a message on it from Jessica's father saying that Jessica's mother, Heather, was the one responsible for his death. And Jessica wholeheartedly fucking believed this shit. I mean, they were constantly using the Ouija board and getting all these messages from their fathers. It's even reported that one night they stayed up and talked to their fathers for 8 hours straight. That's got to be meth. Blaine at this time began saying that he had special powers that allowed him to be able to talk to God directly, and God was also sending him all of these messages. He was also reportedly, the devil went inside of him at one point. They are clearly in some type of fucking meth-induced psychosis. So like I said, Jessica wholeheartedly believed that the Ouija board was her father telling her that her mother, Heather, killed him. So Jessica began calling her mother, threatening her, saying the only way she could move on from her father's death was to do something about it. And she also was accusing her mother of killing her father, which was untrue. So that caused them to stop talking completely. And this is where the distance became like a full stop. Like she no longer talked to anyone in her life other than Blaine. You already know the drill. This is over 9 minutes. I'm recording and posting a part 2 right now. I will not make you wait.